Hello and welcome to another episode of Raman Rewinds. In my last episode, I paid a tribute to G.R. Vishnath. In this episode, I'm going to be paying a tribute to his fellow Mysorean, who was a magician during his playing days. If G.R. Vishnath was an artist with a bat in his hand, this man with a ball in his hand was lethal, even though he happened to be a spinner. The only difference was that he was not the conventional spinner that we get to see generally, but he was unique in his own ways because he was the right-handed version of perhaps a Derek Underwood. In that Derek Underwood of England, bowled quicker, almost like a seamer, and this genius from Karnataka, Bhagwath Chandrasekhar, bowled a leg spin in a unique manner. He ran in quicker than most of the spinners that have been on view in international cricket so far. And then he bowled quicker through as well, which made it very difficult for the batters to pick whether it was a leg spin or a top spinner or a wrong one. And the confusion was not just for the batsman, but it was also for the keeper. And this is where we have to really admire the keepers that kept for him and helped him pick up wickets by snapping up catches and effecting stumpings. Yes, Bhagwath Chandrasekhar, when did I first see him? I think it was more or less the same test match that I spoke about in my last episode against the Clive Lloyd's men in 74-75 at CHEPAUK. What is registered with me about Chandra's bowling was that the crowd would try to clap and whistle and create beats in rhythm with the way he ran, with the speed with which he ran into bowl. It was a boundary run up, he'll run in quickly, he'll start gradually, then he'll accelerate and then he'll let it rip. And that's all I remember because once again, a 9-year-old kid would not know much of nuances of cricket. It was a case of everybody going Chandra, Chandra, and they would just adore him no end. It was not restricted to fans alone, even the fellow cricketers. They were very affectionate towards Sir Chandra and they spoke of him very affectionately. And also, what they did also that they were very protective. They did not tolerate anybody saying even the slightest of negative things about Chandra. As I grew up, as I got to meet Chandrasekar quite a bit, I got to know why all these things happened. Because when I got to meet him and when I had conversations with him, he was impossible in the sense that his modesty is something that I've never seen, perhaps in any other human being. Just to give you an example, we both were scheduled to travel from Bangalore to Goa after the test match against New Zealand in the season 88-89. And the very next day after the test match, we were flying out to Goa. At least that was the plan. We went to the airport and the flight was at about 10:15 in the morning. We met up at the airport and then the airline announced that the flight was going to be delayed. So what Chandra and I did was to go to one of the hotels close by and see if we could while away some time until the flight took off. But half an hour became 1 hour, 1 hour became 2 hours, and as it turned out, we stayed there till 7 o'clock. And at around 7 o'clock, we were informed at the hotel because they had a tie-up with the airline those days. So we were informed that the flight to Goa was finally all set to depart. We go back to the airport, check ourselves in, and then just before we were about to board into the bus to take us to the tarmac and to the aircraft, what happens is that we are told that the flight is being cancelled. This is around 9:30, so it was impossible for me to go to Goa. I was supposed to play for Tamil Nadu against New Zealand. It was a touring game that those days the visiting sides had in between test matches. And Tamil Nadu, by virtue of being the winner of the previous year's Ranji Trophy, earned that right to play that game. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it to Goa. And I had to come back to Chennai and then head to Bombay for the next test match. But why I mentioned this incident was because I was sitting with this man from around 10 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and I tried my best to try and make him talk me through one of his spells. Obviously, Bhagwath Chandrasekhar, the legend that you heard so much as you were growing up, and here you are sitting with him with hardly anything important to discuss. And what better opportunity than to use that to try and get the great spinner to talk about one of his spells or the ways in which he plotted batters out. The curiosity was always going to be killing, wasn't it? But nothing came out of that man. He never spoke about himself in as much as I tried in 1,000 ways to try and get him to speak about at least one dismissal. He was equally adept in trying to deflect the conversation and take it away from him. At around 4 o'clock, I remember, he just started, he suddenly high. Oh, I got excited. I was absolutely shocked. I said, oh, here comes finally. All my efforts are going to be rewarded. Finally, at 4 o'clock, he says, Raman, if only I was dedicated like Sunil, perhaps I would have played a lot more. Oh dear. The modesty of that man, the gentleman that he is unbelievable. And that day I got told off for calling him sir at around 9:30. Years later, when I came across him, again I addressed him as sir. He said, no, there's no sirring business. Yes, that is one part of it. But I could very well understand the person being modest. But what I couldn't understand is the man's attention to details and the attitude that he had in terms of being nice to people. That is what was fantastic. This was proved to me in the year 2020 when I was conducting the book launch in Bangalore, and I had called Chandra, and there once again I said, sir, straight away I get ticked off. What is this sirring business? Call me Chandra. Okay, and I'm trying my best to get rid of that habit of sir and then call him Chandra. It's not happening. I just address him without either sir or Chandra. Then I sort of invite him and I tell him that I'll send you a soft copy of the invite for the launch. Please turn up, sir. I need your blessings. He says, Raman, I had an accident and then that we operated. So I don't think I'll be fit enough to attend the function. I had called him a fortnight before the function. And that was the end of it. And I told him, no, sir, it's fine. You carry on recuperating. That is very important. And I'm sure that I'll always have your best wishes. So that was that. And the function 15 days later was scheduled to start at 12 noon. 11:45, I get a message on my phone. As I told you, I tried my best. I can't make it to the function, Raman, but I wish you the very best for your book, and I'm sure it'll do well. And I was stunned because it's so easy for people to forget, especially if they've had to bear the pain after an operation and they're going through rehab. And obviously, there are so many things that people have handled these days. And amidst all this, he made it a point to remember that, and then he sends a message just before the start of the function. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Then I said to myself, yes, he's done that. I don't know if I will be particular enough to make it a point to remember and send somebody their wishes. Yes, such is the greatness of Chandra off the field as well. I'm privileged to have known him. I'm privileged to have had a lot of conversations with him. And obviously, we all must be proud of Bhagwath Chandrasekhar, the great spinner that he was, and a greater human being that is very rare to see. I don't know what to say now, whether to call him Chandra, or to call him sir. I'll say Chandra sir. May God bless you with a real good health for many, many more years to come. And hopefully I'll catch up with you very shortly when I come over to Bangalore. Oh, you tend to get emotional when you talk about people like Bhagwath Chandrasekhar. That's it for me on this episode. And until I catch up with you next time, stay safe and be good.